I have always been a pretty crappy dancer, but after the first time I played Dance Dance Revolution, dancing became my new favorite hobby, and the worst nightmare of my downstairs neighbor. The instant appeal of rhythm games is that they take a minute to learn, but as the cliche goes, they also take a lifetime to master. The genre has had its ups and downs since its emergence in 1996 with the highly influential title Parappa the Rapper.
Kick, punch, it's all in the mind. If you wanna test me, I'm sure you'll find the things I'll teach ya, sure to beat ya. Nevertheless, you'll get a lesson from teacher. Now kick.
The genre peaked in the mid-2000s with games like Guitar Hero and Rock Band. In these glory years, every tween, teen, and probably also every adult were acting out their inner rock stars, playing on plastic instruments. Just as quickly as the craze had hit us, it disappeared again in the late 2000s. And nowadays, rhythm games live a quiet life in small dedicated communities and on the mobile platforms. Going through my top 10 favorite rhythm games, I hope you will be reminded of the good times you had with your plastic guitar and realize that the rhythm genre is still alive and that you should give it a second chance. At number 10 we find the mobile phone game Beat Gather You. Some say that a rhythm game is only as good as its song selection, and as Beat Gather pulls songs directly from YouTube and combine them with user-made beats, you can always get down with your favorite songs. Even if you're the only user who has a passion for Dutch polka, you can create and play your own beats within minutes. At the 9th place we have Groove Coaster, a rhythm game that interestingly started its life on mobile devices and later made the jump to the arcades. The arcade machines look super futuristic with their neon lights and booster controllers, but the game also looks pretty nice on your iPad. The gameplay is simple. You have an avatar that glides along a line, and you just have to tap, hold or stretch at the right moment. The game uses a bit of visual trickery to make the gameplay extra challenging, such as hiding beats behind sharp turns. It is this kind of game that is perfect for playing while riding on the train or taking an Uber, because it only requires the use of 2 fingers, and the cool electronic beats will drown out any attempt from fellow passengers or the driver to make awkward conversation. Number 8 is Re-Rave. It's basically a game where a ton of clocks appear on your screen and you have to touch them when they strike 12. It's a great game for teaching that loved one who is always late the importance of being on time. You can find the game in both the arcades and on mobile devices, and I recommend playing it with gloves on, as you often have to slide your fingers across the screen. But of course, it has to be those special touch-enabled gloves, and not your favorite cool-looking leather gloves. Number 7 is the Flappy Bird of rhythm games. It is Super Hexagon. This game only has 3 game modes: Hard, Harder and Hardest. You control a small triangle that you have to rotate around the center to avoid all the incoming lines. The soundtrack is awesome, and the game has the vibe of old Commodore 64 games like Gyros. When things are going well, you feel totally immersed in the game, but then it kicks your ass and frustration hits. But you keep coming back for more. Number 6 is a much more friendly game, and it has the cutest mascot ever, the always smiling Don Wada. Of course I'm talking about Taiko Drum Master. In this game you play the taiko drum to set the rhythm of songs. Despite the simplicity of playing the drum, it is immensely fun, and after a session with the game you are guaranteed to have a big smile on your face. Just look at all the happy dancers and all the cute animals jumping out of the drum. At the 5th place we have Guitar Hero, the game that brought rhythm games into the homes of ordinary Europeans and Americans. The game felt fresh and original when it came out, and many hours of fun have been spent jamming to classic rock songs. However, the game was not all that original, but instead a complete rip-off of the Japanese game Guitarfreaks, a game which had already been found in Japanese arcades for 6 years prior to the release of the first Guitar Hero. If you go back and watch Lost in Translation, which was released 2 years prior to Guitar Hero, you might notice a cool looking Japanese guy playing Guitarfreaks in one of the scenes. The first experience I had with Guitar Hero was actually with a port of the game called Frets on Fire. I didn't have a console at the time, so I had to settle with using my keyboard as the guitar. Despite using a keyboard, I still felt like a rock star. Number 4 is Poppin' Music. Despite being one of the oldest rhythm games out there, it can still be found at most arcades. The concept is simple. Color-coded notes fall down from the top of the screen, and when the notes hit the bottom, you have to hit one of 9 buttons. If you hit the note at the right time, you trigger a sound within the song. The buttons make a popping sound when you hit them, which is why the game is called Poppin' Music. The game is considered by many players to be the most challenging of any music game, which is probably why it's still going strong. The game also has one of the most diverse music libraries of the bunch. Number 3 is Dance Dance Revolution. Before the whole craze of exercising video games, which came with the Nintendo Wii, this dancing rhythm game made gamers lose weight all over the world. At the peak of its popularity, big competitions were held in Las Vegas, and you could see DDR freestyles at the arcades. Nowadays, there's still an active community where people make step charts for the newest songs and construct their own gamepads. The game is extremely addictive, and before you know it, you've been playing for an hour and you're drenched in sweat. Unfortunately, the dancing skills acquired playing Dance Dance Revolution do not go well on the dance floor. The only reason why this game is not located one spot higher is my downstairs neighbor. Whenever I dance, I hear him complaining that all his lamps are falling down. Number 2 is much more friendly to your neighbors and is a game that can be played anywhere. I'm talking about Reflec Beat. This is probably the rhythm game I've played the most in recent years. The songs are good, the gameplay is immersive, and the game even has a fun 2-player mode. The gameplay is similar to a game of air hockey, just with multiple pucks flying all over the screen, and you have to stop them using your fingers when they hit the line at the bottom of the screen. The game is enjoyable for players at all skill levels. At the easiest level, you only need to use 2 fingers for playing, whereas on the hardest level, you need to use up to 3 fingers on each hand. Though the game looks similar to the previously mentioned Beat Gather U, the gameplay in Reflec Beat is much more fun and satisfying. If you go to an arcade and see something that kinda looks like a giant glowing washing machine, then go to it immediately, because it is my number 1 pick, MaiMai. When I was in Japan with a good friend of mine, we noticed long queues at these flashing washing machines, and we thought, why not give it a go? It only took a single game to pick up the controls, and a second game to become addicted. This game works in the following way. In the middle there is a round touchscreen, on which patterns appear that you have to swipe over. This is also why all the pro players play the game wearing gloves. At the edges of the screen you find 8 buttons. You have to tap these buttons when the music notes coming from the center of the screen reaches the edges. Unfortunately, this game and many others cannot be found in Europe or in the US. That is why I hope my favorite rhythm games have inspired you to pick up rhythm gaming, such that we send a clear message to Japan. Give us more of your rhythm games. Let me know in the comments section if you agree with my list or if there are any games I have overlooked. I will catch you later.